Tonight, on First at 9 this Tuesday, the 25th of February 2025. Budget passed. Second reading of the 2025 appropriation bill passed in Parliament by a majority of 109 votes. Gambling regulations. Government green lights drafting of a bill to establish a gambling regulatory authority. Duties and responsibilities. Government to continue prosecution of former Central Bank Governor Arjuna Mahindran over Central Bank bond scam. Former President Ranil Wickremesinghe responsible for ensuring Mahindran returns to Sri Lanka. Cabinet spokesperson asserts. Security concerns. President Anura Dissanayake discusses national security with the top brass of the army.
Chilo Dairy, Sri Lankawama Kiren Perata. ඔබේ විශ්වාසය දිනු සෙන්සුරයින් දැන් ළඟම ඇති ෆාමසියෙන් ලබාගත හැක.
කට්ට පරිස්සම් කරගත්තොත් අපි පරිස්සම්.
From Derana, this is Derana First at 9. Live from Studio 24 in Colombo.
Good evening and welcome to First at 9, brought to you by Sri Lanka's most trusted news source, Derana. I'm Tarindu Mahendra, joining you live with the latest in Sri Lanka and from around the world. In your top story tonight, the second reading of the appropriation bill for the year 2025 was passed in Parliament today by a majority of 109 votes. Speaker of Parliament Dr. Jagat Wickremaratne announced this after 155 parliamentarians voted in favour of the budget, while 46 voted against it. On the 17th of February, President Anura Dissanayake, in his capacity as the Minister of Finance, presented Budget 2025, the country's 79th budget speech. During today's debate, Samagi Jana Balawegaya parliamentarian Dr. Harsha De Silva emphasised the necessity of continued monetary policy coordination and structural reforms to ensure the country's macroeconomic stability.
Present the report of the Committee on Public Finance on the appropriation bill for the financial year 2025. The basic assumption is the growth rate of the economy, and it is expected to grow between 3 to 5% for this year. However, we have mentioned here that the growth remains vulnerable to global trade uncertainties, geopolitical risks and climate-related disruptions. On the inflation, sir, inflation is expected to return to the 5% target by the third quarter of this year after several quarters of deflation. The relaxation of import restrictions is expected to boost tax revenue, but may also widen the trade deficit and exert pressure on the foreign reserve. Also, we talked about ensuring fiscal and monetary policy coordination along with structural reforms will be critical for maintaining macroeconomic stability and achieving the fiscal targets of 2025.
Sri Lankan ගුවන් සේවය සතු ගුවන් යාන සංඛ්‍යාව
Sri Lankan Airlines currently operates a fleet of 22 aircrafts. However, 3 of these aircrafts have remained unused for the past 3 years, despite monthly payments amounting to $900,000 being made. As the President stated, we do not intend to allocate operating expenses for the airline through the national budget. The airline must be self-sustained. However, discussions are underway to restructure the company's accumulated debt, which consists of substantial loans obtained in US dollars. We believe that moving forward, we will be able to ensure that the burden of debt repayment does not fall on the public.
අපි විශ්වාස කරනවා. විසර්ජන පනත් කෙටුම් පතේ අපි ඉදිරිපත් කරලා තියෙන ජාතික ජන බලවේගයේ ආණ්ඩුව යටතේ
Through this appropriation bill of the National People's Power, after assessing the current situation and the goals of our government, we have proposed an expenditure estimate of 7.19 trillion rupees. Of this amount, we expect to generate 4.99 trillion rupees through government revenue mechanisms, including tax and non-tax revenues. This leaves a deficit of 2.2 trillion rupees. Beyond revenue collection, the government must also meet additional financial obligations such as debt repayments. We need 1.6 trillion rupees allocated for debt repayments, and we require additional borrowings of 4 trillion rupees. This is what we have presented to Parliament through the appropriation bill.
මේ පාර්ලිමේන්තුව ඉදිරිපත් කරලා තියෙන්නේ මේ පනත් කෙටුම් පත හරහා රුපියල් බිලියන 4000ක් ලෙස.
අපි ඔබතුමාලගේ කතා සීරියස් ගන්න. අපි ඔබතුමාලා එලියන්නේ
We take your criticism seriously. We acknowledge that you have good coordination between your thoughts and words. However, over the past 7 days, we have realized that there has been a lot of noise but little substance. You are running fast but delivering slow balls. I still fail to understand the specific criticisms you have regarding this budget. What they are attempting to do is continuously criticize us in an effort to portray this budget in a negative light.
හදන්න හදනවා මේ අයව අප්සෙට් කියලා.
During the vote on the second reading of the appropriation bill, 155 parliamentarians voted in favour while 46 voted against it. As a result, the second reading of the appropriation bill for the fiscal year 2025 was passed in parliament today by a majority of 109 votes.
ඡන්දය ප්‍රකාශ කිරීමේ කාලය දැන් අවසానයි. ඒ අනුව අද දින න්‍යාය පත්‍රයේ විෂය අංක 1 විසර්ජන පනත් කෙටුම්පත 2025 දිනවර කියවීමට පක්ෂව ඡන්ද 155ක්ද විරුද්ධව ඡන්ද 46ක්ද ලැබී ඇත. ඡන්දය දීමෙන් වැළකී සිටි සංඛ්‍යාව බිඳුවකි. ඒ අනුව විසර්ජන පනත් කෙටුම්පත 2025 දිනවර කියවීම වැඩි ඡන්ද 109කින් සම්මත වූ බව මෙම සභාවට දන්වනු කැමැත්තෙමි.
පිරිපුන් ජීවිතයකට ඔබ සමගින් පෙරට Union Assurance. චන්දුරුසුමේ කාගෙන් මනාපේ සිග TV සඳහා සුපිරි ඩීල්.
Don't waste time. Start your degree with pending A-level results this February with our partner universities. Call ACBT on 0117 699 499.
Malibu chocolate cream, inguru and lemon puff. Less sugar, same great taste. From Malibu.
The Cabinet of Ministers has approved the drafting of a bill for the establishment of a gambling regulatory authority. Additionally, it has been decided to enact laws in alignment with the 2010 Beijing Convention on Aviation Security. With that, here's more on the decisions made at yesterday's Cabinet meeting. Sri Lanka's Cabinet of Ministers has granted approval to proceed with drafting a bill to establish a gambling regulatory authority. On the 26th of June 2023, the then Cabinet of Ministers approved the establishment of the Gambling Regulatory Authority as an independent body with a broad mandate to regulate gambling institutions, minimize social harm, promote the tourism sector and ensure economic growth. The legal draftsman informed that the concurrence of the current Cabinet of Ministers is required to continue the process of drafting the bill. Meanwhile, it has been decided to extend the operational period of the Project Management Unit of the Colombo Port City Development Project, which serves as the coordinating body between the government and CHEC Port City Colombo Private Limited, until the 5th of June 2027. The decision was made in anticipation of completing the functions planned under the project's second phase by the end of June 2027. In the meantime, government has approved the enactment of laws to implement the 2010 Beijing Convention on the Suppression of Unlawful Activities related to international civil aviation. This convention, adopted at an international aviation law conference, classifies acts such as using civil aircraft to cause harm or deploy biological, chemical or nuclear weapons as criminal offences. Since the existing Suppression of Unlawful Acts of Violence at Airports Serving International Civil Aviation Act No. 31 of 1996 does not cover these crimes, approval was granted on the 2nd of May 2022 to draft new legislation in alignment with the Beijing Convention. The latest data revealed that 1 in 6 people in Sri Lanka currently experiences multidimensional poverty, with 95.3% residing in rural or estate areas. Despite numerous poverty eradication programs, none have yielded fully satisfactory results. To address this ongoing issue, the government has approved the Praja Shakti program, which aims to integrate vulnerable groups into a formal social security system. Meanwhile, the World Anti-Doping Agency has recommended several amendments to the Sri Lanka Anti-Doping Agency Act. Accordingly, the Cabinet of Ministers has approved the drafting of a bill to amend the 2013 Act. Cabinet spokesperson Minister Dr. Nalinda Jayatissa claims that politicians with connections to the criminal underworld will be revealed following probes into the telephone and text message records of the suspects apprehended in connection with a number of recent murders. Addressing the cabinet briefing today, Dr. Jayatissa also stated that government will continue to prosecute former Central Bank Governor Arjuna Mahendran for his alleged involvement in the 2015 Central Bank bond scam, regardless of whether he returns to Sri Lanka or not. The cabinet spokesperson added that former President Ranil Wickremesinghe has a duty to ensure that Mahendran returns to Sri Lanka.
27 වෙනිදා බැඳුම්කර මගඩියට වසර 10ක් සම්පූර්ණ වෙනවා. ඒකේ ප්‍රධාන රුධිරෙක් වෙලා ඉන්න අර්ජුන මහේන්ද්‍රන් ගේනවා කියලා ඔබතුමා ප්‍රකාශ කළා. ඒ ඔහු සිංගප්පූරු පුරවැසියෙක් වන නිසා නෛතික වශයෙන් ඒ සඳහා හැකියාව තියෙනවද කියන ප්‍රශ්නේ තමයි තියෙන්නේ. ඒ පිළිබඳවත් ඔබතුමාලගේ රජයේ අලුත් ඈත්තේ දැනගන්න කැමතියි.
පුළුවන් තරම් උත්සාහ කරමින් ඉන්නවා.
We are trying to bring him back to the country. Legal proceedings will continue regardless of whether he is brought back or not. Former President Ranil Wickremesinghe during his tenure as the Prime Minister claimed that Mahendran had informed him that he was leaving the country to attend a wedding. Ranil Wickremesinghe, as a former president, has a duty to bring his friend back to the country.
රාජ්‍ය ආයතනවල වුණත් කෙනෙකුට නිවාඩු දෙනවා නම් ඒ ආයතන ප්‍රධානියා වගකීමෙන් බැඳිලා ඉන්නවා. ඒ ලබා දෙන නිවාඩුව සම්බන්ධයෙන් ඔහු සේවයට වාර්තා කරනවද නැද්ද කියන එක සම්බන්ධ. එතකොට හිටපු ජනාධිපතිවරයා වගකීමෙන් බැඳී ඉන්නව නේද ඔහු නැවත ගෙන්වා ගැනීම සම්බන්ධයෙන්.
Ranil Wickremesinghe didn't merely approve leave. He must answer to a number of issues during proceedings. This will be another such issue.
ඔබතුමාලා නිතරම කියනවා පාතාලේ දේශපාලඥයින් සමග සම්බන්ධතා පවත්වලා තියෙනවා කියලා. කවුද පාතාලේ සම්බන්ධතා පවත්වාගෙන යන දේශපාලඥයින්?
මේ සිදුවීමින් පවතින්නේ සංවිධානාත්මක
What is happening is a conflict between organized criminal gangs. However, the opposition is attempting to use this incident as a rallying cry to prosecute a campaign claiming that national security is under threat. If you asked me whether the incident that took place in the recent past in the eastern province was a threat to national security, then my answer would be yes. We intervened in that matter accordingly. Investigations are being conducted regarding every individual connected with this incident, and their telephone call and text message records are being probed. That will uncover their connections to politicians. I cannot say whose names have been uncovered, but you will be informed of that in the future. Unlike previous governments, we will not provide political protection to criminal gangs and jeopardize law and order. The groups who are raising concern about national security aren't doing so out of patriotism, but for political motives.
පත්තරයක තියෙනවා ජනාධිපතිවරයාගේ ආරක්ෂාව සම්බන්ධයෙන් ප්‍රශ්නයක් තියෙනවා කියලා.
මම දන්නේ ඒක කොහෙන්ද ආවේ කියලා. නමුත් ඊයේ සාකච්ඡා වුණේ නැහැ කියලා මට කියන්න පුළුවන්.
සමහර ප්‍රදේශවල සම්පූර්ණ සිරුර වහගෙන ගමන් කරන පුද්ගලයන් සිටිනවා. දැනට රටේ පවතින අත්‍යත් එක්ක මේ පිළිබඳව ඔබතුමාලාගේ යම්කිසි අවධානයක් යොමු කිරීමට බලාපොරොත්තු වෙනවා.
කෙනෙකුගේ සංස්කෘතික අනන්‍යතාවය
We won't impose laws that suppress an individual's cultural identity. We will only take a decision in this regard if such clothing has been used for activities that threaten national security. However, security forces haven't reported any such incident. Therefore, government hasn't made a decision in this regard.
මේ පාතාල බිමට බලපා ප්‍රධාන හේතුවක් තමයි මේ සමාජ ආර්ථික දේශපාලන හේතු. ආදායම් බෙදීම් විෂමතාවය සහ දුගී බව. ඔබලාට මේක පරාජය කරන්න වැඩ පිළිවෙලක් තියෙනවා.
ඒක වෙනස් කරන්න තමයි අපි ඇවිල්ලා ඉන්නේ. ඇවිල්ලා මාස 3යි. ඒව ඇවිල්ලා දශක ගණනාවක ප්‍රශ්න.
We are here to change this situation. However, it has only been 3 months since we assumed office, and these are decade-spanning issues. On the other hand, whatever an individual's reason is for joining the underworld, they can't be allowed to take others' lives, steal or extort. Therefore, we will take action against criminals, and concurrently, we will systematically address the issues that cause people to resort to crime.
කොටේනි සිද්ධිය අපි දැක්කා පොලිසිය තාමත් අත්නෝමතිකව අත්තරංගුට අරගෙන සැකකරුවන් ඉතිහාමට දීපත් කරන විතර ඝාතනය කළා තියෙනවා. ආණ්ඩුව අනුදැනුම අනුවද මේක උනේ. ආණ්ඩුවේ පිළිවෙත මේකද.
ආණ්ඩුවකට අපේ අවශ්‍යතාවය තිබෙන්නේ මේ
Government wants to take legal action against all suspects through the courts. If there's an obstruction to this process, government is responsible for investigating it. All incidents of the recent past are being investigated. Regardless of which party is found to have committed an oversight, government will investigate these incidents, punish wrongdoings and rectify mistakes.
Fast track your career from O levels with eSoft.
ඩයබටිසෝල් සීනි වලින් පරිස්සම් වන ඔබට අමතක නොවන පෝෂණය.
Singer 1111 up to 60% off from the 11th November to the 17th of November.
Kalani wire කිසිගින්නක් නැහැ.
කිසිගින්නක් නැහැ. Kalani Fire Shield Wire.
Malibu chocolate cream, inguru and lemon puff. Less sugar, same great taste. From Malibu.
Responsibility to look after our health.
The best nutritional supplement for diabetic patients with no added sugar. Maliban Vitagen. Stay healthy for a good reason.
Meanwhile, the mother and younger brother of Ishara Sewandi, the main female suspect of the murder of underworld figure Ganemola Sanjeeva, were arrested on grounds of concealing information and aiding and abetting the murder. Upon questioning by the Colombo Crimes Division, the arrestees revealed key pieces of information related to the murder of Ganemola Sanjeeva.
On the 19th of February, notorious underworld figure Sanjeeva Kumara Samararatna alias Ganemulla Sanjeeva was gunned down inside the Halsdorf court complex. 10 suspects including 2 police personnel have been apprehended in connection with the murder so far. However, police are yet to arrest the 25-year-old woman identified as Pinpura Devage Ishara Sewandi, who allegedly smuggled the firearm used for the shooting of Ganemulla Sanjeeva into the court premises. 2 suspects were arrested yesterday on grounds of concealing information and aiding and abetting the murder. The arrestees were identified as Sesatpura Devage Samanti, the mother, and Pinpura Devage Chamiduthi Veerasinghe, the younger brother of Ishara Sewandi, who allegedly smuggled the firearm into the court premises. The 2 arrestees were detained for 24 hours and questioned at the Colombo Crimes Division yesterday. Police were able to uncover a chain of texts on the messenger platform between Chamiduthi Veerasinghe and the gunman, who is currently under arrest. Following further questioning, the brother of Ishara Sewandi revealed that the texts in question were sent by his sister, one of the 2 main suspects of the murder. A message stating that we will do on the 19th of February what we couldn't accomplish on the 14th was sent to the said messenger account. It was also uncovered that a message stating we will attack Sanjeeva near the court complex and a photo of a bank receipt of a transfer of 100,000 rupees was sent to the brother's messenger account by Ishara Sewandi on the day before the murder was carried out. Police further revealed that Ishara Sewandi had also sent a message stating it's done after underworld figure Ganemulla Sanjeeva was gunned down. It was also stated that Ishara Sewandi had been involved in crimes conducted by Kesel Badara Padme, who is believed to have orchestrated the murder. Ishara Sewandi had also used her mother's bank accounts for crime-related transactions. Meanwhile, investigations revealed that the photo of 2 firearms, which was found in the mobile phone of the police constable attached to the Negombo police, who was arrested over his alleged links with Ishara Sewandi and for aiding and abetting the killing of Ganemulla Sanjeeva, was taken at the residence of the brother of Ishara Sewandi. Accordingly, the mother and brother of suspect Ishara Sewandi were produced before the Colombo High Court today, where the court ordered the duo to be held at the Colombo Crime Division and conduct questioning until tomorrow. Meanwhile, the police and police special task force personnel inspected a residence in Thebuana where Ishara Sewandi is suspected to be hiding, avoiding arrest. The relevant inspection was launched after a woman residing at the house had hidden herself when police approached the house in question. The woman was taken into police custody thereafter. However, the main female suspect of the murder, Ishara Sewandi, has not yet been arrested by police.
අපිට දැනට තිබෙන තොරතුරු අනුව එම තැනැත්තිය රට තුළ සිටින බවට තමයි තොරතුරු තිබෙන්නේ. ඒ වගේම අපි එම පැන යාමට හැකියාවක් තිබෙන ස්ථානවලට අපි විශේෂ ආරක්ෂාවක් අපි යොදලා තියෙනවා. විශේෂ අපගේ තොරතුරු ලබාගෙන සදා අපි ජාලයක් යොදලා ඒ වගේම ගුවන් තොටුපළවලින් ගමන් කිරීමට නොහැකි වෙන අපි විදේශ ගමන් තහනම් මේ සියල්ල අපි ලබාගෙන තිබෙන්නේ මේ වන විටත්.
In other similar news, on the 20th of February, a 29-year-old man was shot dead on Moganwatha beach in Pamunugama by an unidentified gunman. It was revealed that the shooting was carried out using a T-56 type firearm. The deceased was identified as Ayashkanta Bopyarachi, a drug trafficker. 8 persons suspected to be involved in the murder, including a woman, were taken into police custody.
ඔවුන් අතර මෙම ඝාතනය සිදු කළ වෙඩික්කරු වගේම මෙම ඝාතනය සඳහා එම වෙඩික්කරු එම ස්ථානට රැගෙන පැමිණි ත්‍රිරෝධරත රියදුරන්, ඒ වගේ මේ සඳහා අනුබල දුන් පුජ්‍යලයන්, ඒ වගේම මෙම ඝාතනය මෙහෙයීමට කටයුතු කළ පුජ්‍යලයන්, ඒ සියලු දෙනා මෙතන ප්‍රශ්න කරමින් සිටින තැනැත්තන් අතර සිටිනවා. ඒ නිසා මෙම ආසන්න දිනවල සිදු වූ මනුෂ්‍ය ඝාතන සියල්ලම පාහේ මේ වෙනට අපි ඉස්දාවසන්.
Meanwhile, taking the current surge of criminal activity into consideration, the Bar Association of Sri Lanka stressed that it is imperative that law enforcement agencies, namely the police and prison authorities, exercise great caution and act with utmost responsibility to prevent such incidents, as such would tend to erode public trust in the legal system. The Bar Association noted that extrajudicial killings can never be a solution in confronting the increase in criminal activity, adding that crime can best be curbed when there is adherence to the rule of law by the state. BASL also called upon the Acting Inspector General of Police to launch an immediate impartial inquiry to investigate how 2 persons were killed at the hands of the police and to take all necessary measures to prevent the recurrence of such serious incidents of encounter killings and custodial deaths.
And with that, here's a look at thoughts shared in the political arena today.
Following the 2019 Easter bombings, Gotabaya Rajapaksa declared his intention of assuming the presidency. At the moment, while organised crime is on the rise, Namal Rajapaksa vows to take over as president. The public wonders whether these situations are related in some way. Namal Rajapaksa will be heading straight to his tomb rather than visiting constituencies. The national organizer of the Sri Lanka Podujana Peramuna, Namal Rajapaksa, has already emerged as the incumbent president's principal political rival in the upcoming elections. Given this scenario, we would like to know if the government is aware of any plot against Namal Rajapaksa's life or if the government itself is planning to assassinate Namal Rajapaksa. This government has destroyed Sri Lanka's national security. They have created a country where individuals are murdered in courtrooms and on the streets. We are concerned that this statement made by the particular deputy minister is an extension of a plot by the JVP to eliminate their rivals. Following the Middenniya triple murder, Namal Rajapaksa has been commenting publicly on the ongoing killing spear, claiming that the national security is under threat. Please remember that after Club Vasanta's murder, those who cried the most were the murderers themselves.
Leader of Sarvajana Balaya parliamentarian Dilip Jayawira asserts that all Sri Lankans, regardless of the ethnicity, must collaborate in order to inculcate the concept of unified nationalism within society. Speaking to media today, Jayawira highlighted the importance of holding more dialogues on ensuring national security.
Leader of the Sarvajana Balaya parliamentarian Dilip Jayawira met members of the All Ceylon Jamaitul Ulama today in Maradana. Discussions focused on ensuring national security and the challenges faced by Sri Lanka's Muslim community.
We discussed the various approaches to address the challenges and issues faced by the Muslim community. Extensive deliberations were also held on inculcating the concept of nationalism within society. Sarvajana Balaya believes in promoting the concept of unified nationalism. In order to inculcate this concept in society, we must collaborate with everyone regardless of their ethnicity. However, some political parties attempt to change the definition of unity among different ethnic groups. They are trying to leverage national unity for their own benefit. However, as a country, we cannot move forward by adhering to a foreign concept. The Sarvajana Balaya believes that the only way forward is by expressing love and affection and respecting each other. This is an era where the country's national security is being threatened. More discussions should be held on this topic in future. In my opinion, today we had fruitful discussions in this regard. President Anura Dissanayake chaired a discussion on Sri Lanka's current security situation today at the Presidential Secretariat. The President's office said the main focus at the meeting was on measures that can be taken regarding the current security situation in the country. Deputy Minister of Defence Aruna Jayasekara, Secretary to the President Dr. Nandika Sanatkumar Nayaka, Defence Secretary Air Vice Marshal Sampath Toyakonta, Army Commander Lieutenant General Lasantha Rodrigo and several senior officials of the Sri Lanka Army attended the meeting. More than 7,000 people across Sri Lanka have been severely impacted by a shortage of drinking water caused by the prevailing dry weather. According to the Disaster Management Centre, a total of 7,258 individuals belonging to 2,295 families in the Kalutara and Ratnapura districts are facing a lack of drinking water. The Director General of the Disaster Management Centre, Major General Uday Herath, said wildfires have also been reported amidst the dry weather. He further added that 49 incidents of wildfires caused by human activity were reported across 12 districts and urged the public to come forward with any information regarding those involved in such activities. Welcome back. Minister of Foreign Affairs Vijitha Herath says that the Sri Lankan government will engage in further discussions on the framework for truth and reconciliation, consulting the broadest possible cross-section of stakeholders before its implementation, with a view to ensuring a process that earns the trust of all Sri Lankans. He made these remarks today while participating in the high-level segment of the 58th session of the United Nations Human Rights Council.
We are acutely aware of the continuing impact of the economic challenges on our people, particularly the most vulnerable, and decisive steps are being taken to advance their economic and social rights. In the national budget for 2025, we have committed to a series of measures to extend much needed relief to the people, including increased allocation for social welfare and security. Special attention has been paid to improving the socio-economic conditions and address critical needs such as resettlement, housing, compensation and infrastructure development in the northern and eastern provinces. The government has pledged to take tangible steps to further advance national unity and reconciliation. We will ensure that the domestic processes established to address remaining challenges from the conflict will continue their work in an independent and credible manner. Domestic institutions such as the Office on Missing Persons, Office for Reparations and Office for National Unity and Reconciliation will be strengthened. The contours of a truth and reconciliation framework will be further discussed with the broadcast possible cross-section of stakeholders to ensure a process that has the confidence of all Sri Lankans.
Now, the Sri Lankan government is looking at the implementation of a collaborative tourism initiative between the Maldives and Sri Lanka. The initiative was discussed during a meeting at the Presidential Secretariat between President Anura Dissanayake and the High Commissioner of the Republic of the Maldives, Masood Imad. Discussions also focused on the long-standing 60-year diplomatic relationship between the Maldives and Sri Lanka and also on bolstering bilateral relations. President Anura Dissanayake acknowledged and expressed his appreciation for the Maldives' unique contribution in fortifying the ties between the two nations. Now, in your stock update, the Colombo bourse closed in red today, dragged down by price losses in counters such as Selinco Holdings, Commercial Bank and Hatton National Bank. The all-share price index slipped 1.96%, ending at 16,345.01 points. Meanwhile, the S&P Sri Lanka 20 fell by 2.05%, settling at 4,897.31 points. Market turnover crossed 2.3 billion rupees. The banking sector was the top contributor to the market turnover, while the capital goods sector was the second highest contributor. Foreign participation in the market activity remained at subdued levels, with foreigners closing as net sellers. And with that, here's a look at the rupee exchange rates for the day. That's all for tonight. Thank you for joining and have a good night.